My name is Aramide. So today we'd actually be treating what is it called? How to write into files and how to read files. So let me just give us a story about. Okay, so I'm actually a freelancer as well. So most times, let's assume you're actually writing a code. You're actually writing a Python code and you want to save your output inside a file. Take for instance, I worked on scraping Punch News. Okay, so I wrote a program that would actually collect all the news on Punch News. Today, yesterday, 3 months back, every news they have on their, on their site. Do you understand? But now that is actually an output. But for me to be able to read the newsletter or something like that, I might decide to save the output of my code inside a file and just so that I can actually visit that file later. So today, basically, we would actually be treating how to use Python to open a file, how to use Python to save and do whatever we want to do. But basically, it would be centered around opening of files. Okay, so we have input-output operation handling text files. Now, opening of files, we have a function open. So that's the name of the function, open. Now, it is used to open a file, and this is how it works. You call open and you input your file name and the mode. Okay, I will explain this mode as we continue with the class. Now, file name specifies the path to the file you want to open. Example, something like this. We are all familiar with the file path. So you can either use the file path or use the file name. Use the file name if your interpreter is pointing to the directory. Do you understand? But if your file is in another directory, then you need to definitely specify the file path. But if it is in the same directory, all you need to do is just to use the name. Okay? And you know, as I've said earlier, it is open, file name, then mode. Okay? So these are some of the mode in which you can use, which would actually be explaining. We have R, we have R plus, we have W, we have W plus, we have A, we have A plus. Now, these are some of the methods we use in opening and reading of files. Now, we have read. Read, this function read, or this method read, reads the specific number of byte character from a file. Reads all if nothing is specified. Read line, reads each line of a text file one at a time. Read lines, read the lines of a text file as a list. Then we have write. Write, it is used to write a character into a text file. Then close, closes an open file. The way it sounds, use close to close an open file. So first of all, let us start with the R mode. Okay. So this is open. Okay. Now this is the name of my file. That's text.txt. Now I'm opening it and I'm saving it as F. Okay. So now I want to read whatever is inside this text, right? So I'm saying f.read. I'm saving it as output. Okay. And I'm printing output. Now let's see if I should print this. Oh, I'm coming. So let me delete this file. Sorry. Delete. Because I want to actually explain something. Deleting. Delete. 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 Okay, so let me go back to this. And so now the first thing we're actually taking is R mode. And from the letter R, it means read. Okay. So now R mode, it opens the file for read only. The pointer is placed at the beginning of a file. This is the default mode for opening files. Okay, so we have the first mode, which is R mode. And what does R do? R is only to read only. So you use R to only read a file. Okay, and I will explain what that is. So now I'm opening this file, test.txt. Let me run this now. Definitely, it is actually giving me an error. The reason is because this file does not exist. Okay, so you cannot open a file that does not exist because it is actually read-only. Meaning, for you to want to read, let's assume you want to open a text file on your system, or you want to open a doc file on your system, and you want to read it. It is not possible for you to read something that you don't have, right? So that's the same thing. You cannot use R. You cannot read a file that does not exist. Okay. So now I can decide to, okay, so hold on. Now, this is a file. I'll be uploading. Okay, I think you can't see my screen. Okay, let me resume. Okay, so I have a file on my text, on my desktop. So let me upload the file. So this is the file. So I've actually uploaded the file now. So let me now open the file. So these are the contents of the file. I have Arsenal, Bakary, Madrid. So this is actually what is inside this text file. Okay. So what did I do? I called open, then the file name. Then I opened it and I stored it against the variable f. Then I called read on it. Then I printed output. So this is everything we have. Or we can also just check what is inside, and you see this is the file. This is everything that is inside the text file I just uploaded. So now this is the same thing like the code. Okay, so let me copy. You know, I said you can either use the file path or use the name. So if I also want to use the file path, all I need to do is just to paste this here. So this is the file path. Now, this is R. R is just for read only, right? So I'm saying F is equals to content. This is the file path. This is the mode I'm using, right? Now this is out, meaning f.read. I'm saving it as R, as out, then I'm printing out. So if I should print this, I will still have everything I have in the text. So this is me using R mode to read whatever is inside the path, the file, sorry. Now, and I explained the read line. You know, read will read everything in the file. If I'm using read line will read line by line, okay? So I'm opening the file and I'm saving it as K. Now I'm saying my output one, that's out one is K.readline. Output two is K.readline again. Then I'm printing my first line, which is out one. I'm printing my second line, which is out two. So let me print this. Oh, sorry. Now the name of my file is now test. So let me come here and change the name to test. So this would work. So we can also see that you cannot read a file that does not exist. You cannot use R to read a file that does not exist, right? So you can also use, you can read in a loop. Okay. Now this is my file name. This is my path R. So I'm saying for I in open I've actually explained this open function. For I in this, now I'm printing I. Okay. Now this is like a method. I want to use loop to read the file. Okay. Now I can also, so when I run the, okay, let me run this and we'll see. When I used for to print it, you can see that before it is now giving me space. Now I have space. Arsenal, Barca, Real Madrid, Chelsea, Liverpool. Like there's actually spaces here, right? So now that is what I'm actually trying to explain here. Now you notice that the output is double spaced because this print I'm using, it has an end default to be next line. And I can actually fix this by either specifying the end now to be space. I don't want the end to be next line because I'm actually trying to eradicate this double space in between Arsenal and Barcelona. So now I can actually prevent this by either calling the end to be space and not next line, or I call this method on whatever I'm printing just to strip out the spaces. Okay, so you can see this is method one. When I specified my end to be space and not enter. Then this is the second method when I used strip. Okay, so now I've actually explained the first mode, which is R. So what is it that R cannot do? You cannot open a non-existing file in read mode, as we've seen as well. If the file does not exist, you cannot use R mode to read it. Okay, and you cannot write to a read-only file. Now let me try and write and we'll see. Okay, I'm opening this. Okay, let me come. I'm coming. So let me try and write to this file. So as we explain, so let me call this H is equals to this. So I'm opening this file as this, and I now want to write into the file. Let me say write, then H dot write. My name is Aramide, and now I'm printing H. This is definitely going to give me an error. And what is the error? Not writable, meaning I cannot write inside a read only. So those are two things you can't do when you're using R mode. You cannot read a file that does not exist, and you cannot write to a read only file. So now, in order to cater for that, we have another mode that is R plus. Now, R plus opens the file for read and writing. So if you are using R plus, you can read and you can also write. But note, the pointer is placed at the beginning of the file. Now, what this is actually saying is, once you open the file, now this is a pointer. Let me show us. You can see this thing that is blinking. That is the pointer. So whenever you use R plus to open a file, the pointer is definitely going to be at the beginning of that file. So if you're writing, so let's assume that I have everything here inside the file. But at any point in time when you're using R plus, what happens is your pointer is in the first. Your pointer is definitely going to be at the beginning of the file. So if I'm writing anything inside that file, what will happen is it will definitely be what? It will be overwriting what I have in the file before. You understand? So I would explain that too, meaning if there is something inside the file and you are opening that file and you're writing into that file, you are definitely erasing what you have there before. So let me just read this out. The major difference between R and R plus is that you can write into a file with R plus after the file has been opened. Unlike R, which will give an error, and we did the same thing. We cannot write inside a file when you use only R. Note that when writing into a file, the pointer is placed at the beginning of the file. So what happens is that as you write, the previous file content gets overwritten gradually. This is just to review. Now, this is just to review what we have in the file before we write, so you can understand how it will overwrite. So you can as well use this format. You know, the former format we've been using is, let me say, G is equals to open. Then I'll give you the file name, something like this, right? So you can open a file like this, okay? You can as well open a file using this suite. You know, what I'm saying is this guy, save it as G, you understand? But you can say with open, then save it as this. So now, instead of writing G, let me just save this. Let me put this as G. So this line and this line, they're actually doing the same thing. So this is another way of opening file with open, but note my mode is what? R plus. And I'm saving it as G. Now I'm now saying read G. I'm calling the method G. I'm calling read on G and I'm saving it as R. Then I'm printing R. So let's see what the output is. So it is still the same thing. Everything that is inside the file, you can see everything that is inside the file. So let me try and now write into this file. Because what I'm actually trying to explain is how R overwrites, how R plus overwrites what is actually inside the file initially. Now, because the reason is because the pointer starts from the beginning of the file. Now, I'm opening this file as R plus, okay? And I'm writing, you would notice this would start overwriting from the start. So this is me writing this into the file. Now I'm reading the file. I'm using this to read the file. So let's see what happens. Now you can see here, I have Arsenal, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Chelsea, Liverpool, right? Now, because I'm writing into that file, this new line has actually what? Arsenal is no longer there because when you count the number of characters, when you had Barcelona, Arsenal to Barcelona to Real Madrid to this, it's as I'm writing this into the file, it will start truncating whatever, it will start removing whatever I have in the file. So, which is actually what I'm actually trying to explain here. Like when you're using R+, when you're writing into a pre-existing file, writing in a pre-existing file, the open starts from the beginning. So the new content will gradually be overwritten, will gradually be overwriting the previous file till it successfully exhausts the previous content. This would only happen. Now, this is what I'm trying to explain. If you have something in a file before and you're using R+, if what you're writing inside the file now, if it is more than what is there before, what you're writing, you won't even notice that something was inside the file before. You understand? Because the content you're putting now is more than what is there before. So it will erase everything that is there and what you're writing will just be what is inside the file. But if what you're writing inside the file is not up to what is there, everything that you're writing inside the file will be there. It will definitely truncate whatever was in the beginning. Then once you're done with what you're writing, the remaining part of what is in the file before would be there. You understand? So what you cannot do with R plus, what you cannot do, this cannot be used to write to the end of the file. Remember that the pointer is placed at the beginning of the file, and that's why it overwrites the existing content. Meaning, what you cannot do with this R plus is, let's assume I have a file there before, and I want to write into a pre-existing file. It will not continue what was there before. Okay? What will happen is it will start from the beginning and start truncating, or it will start overwriting what I have in the file before. So if my intention was to preserve whatever is inside the file, then I cannot use R plus. As I've said, R is just for read only. R plus would what? It will read and write. You understand? So that takes us to W mode. Now, W is from write. You understand? As R plus is just for read only, W plus is for write only. Do you understand? Meaning, open a file with this as this. Now, if you're using W mode, you can only write into that file. You cannot read that file. So if you want to read the file, all you need to do is to reopen the file. Do you understand? So now, but one thing you need to note is, in read only, you cannot read a file that does not exist. But in write only, you can write into a file that does not exist. So once you write into a file that does not exist, automatically Python will open the file for you. So now there's nothing like test3.txt, but I'm opening the file using W mode and I'm saving it as F. Now I'm writing, this is the only thing that would be written. Let's write these two. You understand? So this is me writing a line. I'm writing this also inside this file that I've saved with F. Now let me run this. This won't throw an error because I'm using W, although the file does not exist. But see, now let me delete this again so that we'll see what happens. Now, there's nothing like test3 here. So let me run this. Automatically, Python would definitely create that file because I'm using W. But if I'm using R, it will throw an error. Do you understand? Now, I cannot read this file. I need to come back and open the file, then read, because W is just for read only. It's for write only, sorry. So let me try and read F. Now let me say print F dot read. This is an error. It is not readable. Do you understand? You cannot read a write only file because I use W. So for me to be able to read, I need to come and open the file again and read. So let me read this. You can see this is what was written in the file. This is the only thing that would be written. Let's write this too. Okay. So what is it that you cannot do with W? You cannot read the contents of a write-only file. I've explained that. You cannot use it when you intend to preserve the pre-existing content. Once you write to a pre-existing file, it truncates. Now, let me explain. For R, if you are writing into R, if you are using R plus to write, what it does is it will start from the beginning and start writing into the file till what you're writing will consume whatever was there before, right? But for W, if you are using W to write, it will truncate that file and start writing. It will first of all erase whatever is there and start writing. So that is how W work, okay? So you cannot use it to write. If you're using it to write into a pre-existing file, it will first of all flash or format whatever is there. Then it will now start writing whatever you're writing now inside the file, okay? So we are going to the next mode, which is W plus. So recap, R is for read only. R plus is for read and write. W is for write only. W plus is for write and reading. Okay, W plus is for write and reading. So what does W plus does? Opens the file for reading and writing. It overwrites the file when it exists. It creates a new file if it doesn't. So now what is now the difference between R plus and W plus? They both do the same thing basically, because you can use R plus to read and write, and you can use W plus to read and write. But the main difference is if you are using R plus, let's assume you have a pre-existing file. So if I have something in a file and it is the number of characters there is 14, okay? And if I want to write if I want to write into a new existing, if I want to write into that file using R plus, and my character is 4, what would happen is that 4, it will put it inside, meaning it will delete the first 4 of the pre-existing file and put the new 4 inside. That is how R plus works. But for W plus, it will first of all format the file and put whatever I'm writing now inside. So that's what the difference between R plus and W plus. W plus work in a way that it formats whatever is there, then put the new thing inside. But for R plus, it will be truncating it character by character. But for W plus, it will format it. First of all, clean whatever is there, then put whatever you have now inside. But for W plus, even if the file does not exist, I've actually not created this file, right? So if you're writing, even if the file does not exist, it will open it. You don't need to have open, or the file does not need to, you can, once you're using W, it will create the file if the file does not exist. So let's run this. Okay, so I've opened this. Okay, now, but you can use W plus to read as well. So what did I do? After writing, okay, now I reopened the file again. I wanted to read this file, this text file, okay, but nothing happened. So let me explain. So I wanted to read this file. You can see I opened the file again. I wanted to read it. I printed R, but nothing happened. So let me explain what went wrong. So what happens is that if I want to read the file while it is opened with R, so first of all, let me explain. Now the file is open, okay? So let me run this first. You can see the file is still opened, right? Then I'm trying to read the file, but nothing happened. These are just the content. This is me writing into the file, okay? Then I'm trying to read the file, nothing happened. Now, let me explain what actually went. It is not, okay, when you're writing a file, the pointer starts from the beginning. You understand? So once you keep writing and you keep writing and you keep writing and you keep writing, this is the last thing I did, okay? So meaning the pointer is currently here. This is another, the pointer is currently here. Then I'm reading the file. If I'm reading the file, it is reading from this point. You understand? So there is actually nothing after this pointer. That's the reason why it is blank. So for me to read what I'm writing, I need to return the pointer to wherever I want to return it to. You understand? Meaning I need to return the pointer back to the starting point so that I can read. So for you to be able to do that, you use seek. Why this 0 is specifying the starting point. So I drop the note. Note that without this seek, the print would have been empty. Wow, I have 10 minutes. The print would have been empty. What the seek does is to return the pointer to a defined point, say 0, 1, 4, etc. Now, I'm using seek. So let's see what happens. You are definitely going to have output because I've actually used this seek to what? To return the pointer back to the starting point. But without this seek, it will be empty. Now, so let's see what happens if we write twice. I'm writing, this is my first write. This is my second write. Okay. Then I'm calling seek. So this seek is what? Just returning the pointer to the beginning. So this is what happens if you write twice. So what you cannot do with RW plus, you cannot use it if you want to preserve the existing content of the file because, you know, as I've said, if you're using W, it will format whatever is inside the file before. You cannot use read without calling seek method to return the pointer to the other position than the end of the file, else it will return an empty string. Okay, so A mode. Just for recap, we explained R, R plus, W, and W plus. Now we are moving to A. A is from the word append. You understand? So A is trying to, we are just trying to work on the pre-existing one and it keeps getting better. So A, it opens a file for appending only. You understand? A is just for appending only, meaning it creates a new file if the file does not exist. The pointer is placed at the end of the file. So if you have a pre-existing file and you are using A to write into the file, what you are just doing is what? You will keep appending. Meaning if you have something in the file before and you are writing into the file, then it will continue from where you left, meaning it is actually going to what? Preserve the contents of the pre-existing file. But if the file does not exist, it will open the file. So apparently when opening an existing file with A, the pointer starts from the last content, which makes it very possible to append because you can only append something with the pointer, meaning if you have a file and if you have something there before and you are appending to it, meaning you should continue with what you have there before. And it is because the pointer is at the end. So if it is empty, you know the end of an empty file is still the beginning. But if the file is not empty, then the pointer is at the end, then you can now start writing into the file, which makes the append whatever possible. So what you cannot do, you cannot read an append mode. You cannot read with A. So that takes us to what? A plus. So if you want to append and read, then you need to use A plus. So A plus what opens the file for reading and appending. It creates a new file if it doesn't exist. The pointer is placed at the beginning of the file. So see this. Now, note, how are you? Do you understand? How are you was actually in the text before using A plus. Now, I'm writing it to append. So I'm actually writing this into the file. Okay. Now we have this. You understand? So append words, it will add to what you have in the file before. So now, writing other file formats. You know, we've actually been writing TXT. You can write CSV. You can write any format you want. You can even write a file that has no extension. You can see this one has no extension. You can write a file that does not have an extension. And you can see I'm writing this into this file, no extension, and I'm opening and reading the file. This is what is inside the file. So you can write into a file, that does not have an extension. Our time is actually running out, so let me quickly finish up with the class. So you can, for Python file is saved as .py. Do you understand? So this is me opening a file, a Python file, because Python extension is .py, and I'm writing into the file. So this is the line of code. So what this one is doing is for I in range 1,3, print 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3, and so on and so forth. Now, after I'm done writing into the file, I closed the file. Okay. So I've written this into the file. For me to be able to call the file, I can either use import. You know, the file name is what? PyFile. Okay. So I'm calling this file. Let me run this. I'm coming. I don't know why this is not working. Let me restart my runtime. Have I changed the name of the file? No, I've not. Oh. Okay, let me continue though because of the time. So I want to read the file. I'm opening the file here and I'm reading what is inside the file. So this is the content of what is actually inside the file because this is me writing into the file. Okay. And this is, I open the file, then I'm writing into the file. You can see this is now CSV. Okay. And I'm printing the file. So this is what I've written, name, class, score. This is the name, this is the class, this is score, this is the name, this is the class, and so on. So this is actually the output. So we have close as well. When you open a file, it is always advisable for us to close the file. So once you're done working with the file, then you just write this close and the file will be closed. Do you understand? And you know, in print, this is the syntax for print function. Object, file, we have this file. So you can as well print into a file. You understand? So what I did was I opened this file, print CSV file, meaning I've opened this file now, right? Now, and I saved it as what? PyWriter. So in this print function, I'm assigning this file function here to this PyWriter. So everything I'm writing it into this file. So you can also use print function to write. You understand? So I'm writing into this function. Then after I'm done, what I did was just what? To open this print CSV file .csv. You understand? So let me run this. And we have this. So this is me using print function to write into the function as well. So I think we've come to the end of today's class. So I would actually be dropping the video to today's class and the one for yesterday as well, latest tomorrow morning. So do you have any question before I end the class? Okay, so in the absence of, since we actually don't have any question, so thank you very much for coming to today's class, and we'll meet next week. But please, let's actually attempt our class. Let's attempt our assignments and let's submit the link to our notebook. Thank you very much, everybody.